I never imagined a single piece of paper could shatter everything I believed about my marriage. My name is Laura Bennett, and at 53 years old, I thought I had already survived the hardest chapter of my life when my husband passed away. But grief has a way of peeling back layers you never knew existed, revealing secrets that change how you see every single memory you hold dear. For 26 years, I shared my days with David, a man I considered steady and honest through and through. We lived simply in a quiet neighborhood outside Cleveland, Ohio, in a two-bedroom home we slowly made our own. David worked in logistics for a trucking firm, bringing home what he described as modest paychecks that barely stretched from one month to the next. I taught English part-time at the local community college, and together we made do with used cars, homemade meals, and careful budgeting that left little room for extras. We clipped coupons and chose state park getaways over fancy vacations. When our old washing machine finally gave out, we spent days debating repair versus replacement and ultimately fixed it because anything more felt irresponsible. David had a gentle side that I cherished. He remembered small things, like my favorite coffee order on quiet Saturday mornings, and he always knew how to make me laugh with his dry humor. Yet he also kept certain parts of himself tucked away, and I convinced myself that was simply his nature. His sister Eleanor lived out in Arizona with her husband Victor, a real estate man. They spoke every Sunday, sharing inside jokes that sometimes left me feeling like an outsider in my own home. When David died suddenly from a heart attack 14 months earlier, Eleanor arrived almost immediately, moving through my kitchen with a familiarity that felt both comforting and slightly intrusive at the time. The estate seemed straightforward: a modest life insurance policy, a small retirement account, and the house in my name. Nothing suggested anything more. Then one crisp October afternoon, while sorting through the back of his office closet for refinancing papers, my fingers brushed against a hidden envelope. Inside lay a bank statement from a private institution in Chicago. The account belonged to David, and the balance showed over $33 million. I sank onto the closet floor, staring at those numbers until the light outside shifted and faded. My mind raced through every sacrifice we had made, every worry we had carried together. My hands trembled as I dialed the number on the statement. A composed voice answered on the second ring. "This is Thomas Harlan at Meridian Trust." I explained who I was and what I had found. After a careful pause, he spoke words that stopped my breath. He left specific instructions. The manager confirmed the account existed, but insisted any further details required an in-person visit with proper documentation. That short conversation left me standing in my kitchen, world spinning, wondering what else my husband had hidden from me for decades. Sleep evaded me that night as memories flooded back. The times we scraped together money for my mother's medical needs, the arguments over household repairs, the quiet acceptance that we would always live within tight limits. By dawn, I sat at the kitchen table with a notebook, listing every odd detail that now cast long shadows. Eleanor's unusually timed calls, Victor's habit of steering conversations away from finances, a generous check they once sent that David accepted with visible discomfort. I knew I had to protect myself. No one could know yet, not my sister in Pennsylvania, not neighbors, and certainly not Eleanor. I reached out to a sharp estate attorney named Sophia Klein, whose calm expertise gave me my first real sense of direction. She reviewed everything and explained how spousal rights might still apply, even with complex trusts. We sent formal inquiries to the bank and prepared for what lay ahead. When Eleanor called again with an unusually concerned tone, I let it ring unanswered. I traveled to Chicago alone, carrying folders of documents and a resolve I barely recognized in myself. The bank felt worlds away from my everyday life, all polished marble and hushed voices. Thomas Harlan met me in a private room and laid out the truth. David had created a revocable trust years into our marriage, naming Eleanor and Victor as main beneficiaries. I was left out entirely. Yet one amendment changed the entire picture. In careful handwriting from several years earlier, David had added a note directing full disclosure to me if I ever discovered the account, along with support for independent legal help. He believed I would know what to do. Reading those words brought a wave of conflicting emotions. Part of me felt seen by the man I loved, while another part ached at the years of deception that preceded it. Sophia used that amendment to build a strong case, arguing the funds came from marital resources systematically diverted over time. Eleanor and Victor soon sensed the shift. Phone messages grew frequent, followed by an unannounced visit to my porch where they urged me to honor David's privacy and avoid painful public proceedings. Their words carried veiled warnings about complicated business dealings that might damage reputations if exposed. I stood firm, directing them to speak only through my attorney, feeling a new strength settle in my bones as their car pulled away. The legal process moved forward with hearings that peeled back layers of carefully constructed arrangements. Bank records revealed how David had funneled portions of income through a consulting entity, building the fortune while we lived as if we had little. Sophia presented evidence methodically in court, including proof that early funding had come from our joint resources without my knowledge. The opposing side pushed back, but the evidence mounted. A judge reviewed the details and ruled in my favor, recognizing the misappropriation of shared marital assets and my rights as surviving spouse. The preliminary decision opened the door to a substantial share of the estate. Settlement offers arrived, starting low and climbing as the other side realized I would not yield. Through months of negotiations, we reached an agreement that gave me roughly half the trust value after fees, a life-changing sum that still felt like justice rather than victory. In the quiet days that followed, I allowed myself space to process it all. I replaced that old washing machine without hesitation, choosing quality simply because I could. I set up structured investments and created a small foundation to help families facing medical costs like my mother's. Travels with my sister brought new landscapes and healing conversations. I continued teaching, pouring energy into students navigating their own life transitions. Eleanor and Victor faced their own adjustments after the resolution, selling property and restructuring arrangements. I felt no joy in their difficulties, only a quiet distance that allowed me to move forward. David remained a complicated figure in my heart. The devoted husband who brought coffee and laughter existed alongside the man who carried enormous secrets. Both versions shaped the person I became. I sometimes sit beneath the oak tree he planted in our yard during our first year here. The bench I added offers a peaceful spot to reflect. Life has a way of surprising you long after you think the surprises are over. The woman who once repaired appliances out of necessity now chooses her path with newfound freedom, grateful for the resilience she discovered inside herself. If my story touched something in you, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so more people can hear these real-life journeys. Let me know in the comments which part hit you hardest. And if you enjoy stories like this, be sure to check the end screen for another powerful video waiting for you right now. Thank you for spending this time with me.